On August 12, 1994, a 22-year-old woman closed up her fortune-telling booth at the Rutherford County Fair, told a coworker good night, and walked into the dark. 3 weeks later, hikers pulled a skeleton out of a limestone quarry 2 miles away.
2 miles on foot in the dark.
And here's the part that kept me up. The deputy who took her missing persons report had her intake photograph in his own coat pocket. For 17 years, he never once put it in the system.
Wait, he kept it? Deliberately?
Folded into a leather notebook with 3 words written under it. We'll get to those words.
Okay, that's not negligence. That's a decision.
It's a decision. Welcome back to The Cold File. I'm Jake Morgan.
And I'm Dr. Christy Hart. Call me Christy. And I'll be honest, Jake, I read this file twice, and both times I stopped cold on the same line. The original bulletin says no distinguishing features, and the autopsy, filed the same season, notes a gold dental crown. Somebody chose to leave that off.
You came in still buzzing off that genealogy conference, too. You've been talking family trees for a week.
I have, and it's the perfect case for it, because a family tree is exactly what cracks this thing open. So let's start where it actually broke. A stranger spit in a tube 4 states away.
So let me set the ground we're standing on today, 25, because this case is technically still open. There's a defendant, but no trial verdict yet. For 30 years, this woman was Rutherford County file number 89, Jane Doe. No name, no family, no headstone that meant anything.
And nobody looking.
Nobody with the standing to look? That's the whole tragedy in one sentence? Then in the spring of 24, a private forensic genealogy lab, the county cold case unit, had resubmitted the Doe's profile the year before. Gets a hit. A distant cousin, somebody who just wanted to know if they were part Cherokee or where their great-grandparents came from, spits in a tube, mails it off.
And their curiosity lights up a 30-year-old murder.
Familial match. The genealogists build the tree out branch by branch, and it leads them to a traveling carnival family. Name of Vantrees. Ran midways across 3 states, going back generations.
Carnival family? So she was born on the circuit.
Born on it, raised on it, and in November of 24, Rutherford County finally does the thing they should have done in 95. They put a name on the file, Desiree Vantrees.
Say a little about her, Jake. Before she's a file number, who is she?
So Desiree is 22. She runs the tarot and fortune-telling booth, the little canvas tent with the beaded curtain, the folding table, the deck of cards worn soft at the edges. And by every account, she was good at it. Not because she believed in it.
Because she read people.
Because she read people. That's exactly it.
See, that's the part that gets me. That's a skill. You sit across a folding table from 100 strangers a night. You learn to clock who's grieving, who's lying, who's lonely. She was a reader of people who ended up dead precisely because she read one situation exactly right.
Hold that thought, because that's going to matter. Here's the texture of her life. She'd been on the circuit her whole life, but she was trying to get off it. She'd been saving her booth tips, cash, a jar under the bunk in the trailer, the classic
Getting out money.
getting out money. She wanted a real address, a mailbox with her name on it, somewhere with a school district. Because a few weeks before that last fair, she'd called her sister and told her she was pregnant.
Oh, so the getting out plan wasn't abstract anymore. She had a deadline growing.
14 weeks along, roughly, per the medical examiner.
And who's the father? Because a pregnant 22-year-old planning to settle down, that father is either the reason she's leaving or the reason she can't.
Christy, you just walked us right up to the center of the whole thing. But I want to hold the father back for a minute, because in 94, nobody even got that far. Let me tell you how badly the front end of this was handled. Night of August 12th, she closes the booth around 11:40. Last full night of the fair. A coworker sees her walking toward the edge of the grounds and assumes she's headed back to the trailers.
Assumes.
Next morning, August 13th, it's teardown day. The carnival's a machine, everything comes down, gets loaded, rolls to the next county by afternoon, and Desiree doesn't show for teardown.
Which for a carnival worker is like not showing up to your own wedding. You don't miss teardown.
You don't. So the manager reports her missing. And the show, this is the brutal part, the show can't stop. Contracts, the next fairground, permits. By that afternoon, the whole carnival has rolled out of Harlow's Bend and left her missing persons report behind with the county.
So the only people who knew her, who'd push, who'd raise hell, they're gone by sundown. 2 counties away by the weekend.
And the one man left holding her file is a deputy named Roy Ellis Sadler.
And this is the man with the photo in his pocket.
This is the man with the photo in his pocket. He processes the intake. He circulates a sketch, regionally, not nationally, never enters it into the national database, and on the paperwork, under distinguishing features.
He writes none.
No distinguishing features.
Despite a gold crown that would have been a dead simple identifier, dental records match all day long on something like that.
A gold crown in 1994 in eastern Kentucky is not subtle, Christy. A dentist remembers that. That's a phone call that closes a case.
So leaving it off isn't sloppy. It's the opposite of sloppy. It's precise. He knew exactly which detail would name her, and that's the one detail he erased.
Now hold on to that instinct because that's where you and I are about to split. September 3rd, 94. Hikers at the old Harlow's Bend Quarry. It's a played-out limestone pit filled with groundwater that rusty green color quarry ponds get, and partially submerged near the edge.
Her skeletal remains.
3 weeks in the water. The county medical examiner brings her in, and the findings are, they're stark. Blunt force trauma to the back of the skull.
Back of the skull, not the side, not the front.
Why does that matter to you?
Because the front and the side, that's a confrontation. Two people facing off, it escalates. Somebody swings. The back of the skull is different. Either she was turning away, walking away, or she trusted whoever was behind her enough to turn her back on them.
Or both. She turns to leave, and that's the moment.
That's the moment. And that reads as somebody she didn't consider a physical threat. You don't turn your back on someone you're scared of.
And then the medical examiner notes the second thing, commingled fetal bone fragments, consistent with a pregnancy of about 14 weeks.
So it's confirmed at autopsy. In 94, they already knew she was pregnant.
They knew it's in the file in 94.
Then how, in God's name, does she stay nameless for 30 years with that much information? A young woman, gold crown, 14 weeks pregnant, blunt force trauma, found 2 miles from a fairground that had a carnival in town, the same week she goes missing.
Christy, you just did in 20 seconds what Rutherford County didn't do in 3 decades.
Because somebody made sure the pieces never sat on the same desk. That's not bad luck. That's engineering.
And in 1995, they file her as Jane Doe 89, and she goes cold. Gets circulated once, no matches, no national entry. The trail just stops.
Did the local paper even cover it?
One story, buried inside, remains found at Old Quarry still unidentified, and then nothing. No follow-up, no anniversary piece, no local outrage, because, and this is the thing about Harlow's Bend,
There's nobody to be outraged on her behalf.
she's a carnival worker who was in town for 9 days. She's not somebody's neighbor. She's not in the church directory. There's no grieving local family filling the front pew and calling the sheriff every week.
Which is exactly the victim profile a certain kind of killer counts on. Transient, no local ties, community already primed to shrug. Whoever did this understood that. Maybe not consciously, but they understood it.
Now let me sketch the town, because the town is a character here. Harlow's Bend is a coal town whose mine closed in the 80s, shrinking. And running through everything, the bank, the church, the county commission, half the jobs left, is one family, the Bellamy's, land and lumber money. When the coal died, they were the ones still standing. And in a county like that, the Bellamy name isn't a family, it's an institution.
And Deputy Sadler, where does he sit relative to the Bellamy's?
Longtime friend of the family, which file that. And financially, we'll learn he had skin in a Bellamy land deal.
Okay, so now the picture's got a shape. You've got a dead, pregnant carnival worker nobody's looking for, a deputy who erased the one detail that'd name her, and that same deputy is financially in bed with the richest family in the county.
And here's where I want to plant my flag, because I've read this file 5 times and I keep landing in the same place.
Go.
The father of that baby, I think the father killed her, and I think I can tell you who the father is. Wendell Tucker Bellamy, the married son of that wealthy family, Desiree's secret lover.
The affair's confirmed?
It gets confirmed hard later, and I'll let you have that reveal when we get there. But walk with me on motive. A married Bellamy son, family money, family name, family trust. And a carnival woman shows up pregnant, 14 weeks, telling her sister she's settling down and wants a real address.
She's not going away quietly.
She's the opposite of going away quietly. She's putting down roots. She's a permanent walking, pregnant advertisement for the affair that ends his marriage and threatens his standing in the family business. That's the oldest motive there is. Silence the scandal.
It's clean, I'll give you that. And the blunt force to the back of the head fits a lover. She turns to walk away from a fight. He panics. He swings.
Right. And then daddy's money and a friendly deputy makes it disappear. Wendell kills her. The family calls in Sadler. Sadler buries the file. One straight line.
See, and that's exactly where I get off your train, Jake.
I figured you might.
I keep coming back to Sadler because the file burying isn't a favor. It's too personal. Think about what he actually did. He didn't just misplace paperwork. He took her photograph, her face, and he carried it in his coat for 17 years until he died.
You think a man doing a favor for the rich family doesn't keep the trophy?
That's exactly what I think. Behaviorally, that's not the profile of a bagman. A bagman shreds the photo. A bagman wants zero connection to it. Carrying her face for 17 years, that's a man who can't put her down. That's guilt, or it's a keepsake, and both of those point at the man himself.
So your read is Sadler didn't cover up a Bellamy murder. Sadler covered up his own.
Look at his opportunity. His patrol log that night has a 2-hour unaccounted gap. And who scrutinizes the investigating officer's movements? Nobody. He's the one filling out the report. He's got means, he's got a window nobody's watching, and he's got the authority to erase the entire case afterward. Wendell needs a conspiracy. Sadler needs an afternoon.
That's okay, that's a strong frame. The man investigating the disappearance is the one person no one investigates.
And the no distinguishing features line reads completely differently if it's him. That's not protecting a friend, that's protecting yourself.
But you've got a hole, Christy. Motive. Why does Sadler, a county deputy, kill a carnival fortune teller he's got no connection to?
I don't have his motive yet, I'll admit that, but I've got his behavior, and behavior doesn't lie the way alibis do. You've got a beautiful motive and a suspect standing behind 3 other people. I've got a thin motive and a suspect with her photograph against his chest.
So you've each got half a case, and they point at 2 different men.
2 different men. And here's what I want you to sit with. The medical examiner said back of the skull. She turned her back. Now ask yourself, whose back does a scared pregnant woman turn on a dark fairground road at midnight?
Her lover, or a uniformed deputy she'd have no reason to fear.
Exactly. Both of our guys clear that bar. Neither of us can rule the other out on the wound alone.
All right, before we go deeper into either man, I want to do the thing we always do, clear the field. Because in 1994, there were other names in the frame, and if we don't knock them down, they'll haunt the back half of this episode.
Good. Give me the boyfriend first. There's always a boyfriend.
There's always a boyfriend. Dale Fennick, on and off boyfriend, carnival ride mechanic, and the theory is the ugly, obvious one. He found out about the affair with a local, got jealous, confronted her that last night.
Jealousy, back of the head, she turns to walk away from him mid-argument, fits the wound beautifully.
Fits perfectly, except the carnival's own route paperwork, payroll timestamp, and a ticket stub put Dale 2 counties away at the next town's fairground, the same night she vanished, setting up.
2 counties? That's not a fuzzy alibi, that's a paper trail with times on it.
It held up clean. Dale stayed local gossip for years, everybody's favorite suspect at the diner, but logistically, it's impossible. He's out.
And honestly, the jealousy profile has a tell. A jealous partner wants her to know why. There's usually rage at the scene, overkill, personal fury, 1 blow to the back of the head, and a careful disposal in a quarry 2 miles off. That's not jealous rage, that's cleanup. Different psychology entirely.
Say more about that, because that distinction's going to matter.
Rage kills messy and leaves messy. Calculation kills efficiently and hides efficiently. A quarry pond 2 miles from the scene remains that stay nameless 30 years. Everything downstream of this murder is calculated. Whoever did this, the killing might have been a flash, but everything after was cold.
Which cuts against your Sadler in a panic read a little.
It does, and I noticed a panicked man doesn't usually orchestrate a 30-year cover-up this well, unless he's a man whose whole job is knowing how cases fall apart.
Which Sadler is.
Which Sadler is, so I'm keeping him.
One more to clear, then I want to open the money. The carnival manager, Odell Kepler, her boss.
What's his motive supposed to be?
Investigators floated that Desiree had caught him skimming ticket revenue and threatened to expose him, silence the whistleblower angle.
A reader of People who reads her boss stealing. That actually tracks with who she was.
It tracks, but Kepler's alibi is 3 vendor witnesses and dated receipts putting him in the adjoining county, setting up the next stop. Same as Dale, basically. The machine had already moved, and he moved with it.
So the 2 carnival men both have the same alibi, which is the carnival itself. The show rolling out is what clears them.
The show rolling out clears everybody who left with it, which leaves the people who stayed in Harlow's Bend.
The locals, your Wendell, my Sadler.
And now I want to show you the thing that, for me, seals Wendell. Because it took 30 years and a completely different person's ancestry test to prove the affair was even real.
The father.
The father. In 24, once they've got Desiree named, the lab does something I still find a little bit staggering. They recover a partial fetal DNA profile from those commingled remains.
From the baby. 30 years underwater, and they pull the baby's profile.
Partial, but enough. And they run a familial search against a consumer ancestry kit, a kit that turns out to belong to Wendell Bellamy's adult son. his legitimate son, the one from the marriage.
Oh, that's the cruelest little twist of fate. The son he had to protect the family for is the one who hands over the DNA that names his father.
And it comes back a match to Wendell's paternal line. Confirmed. Wendell Bellamy fathered Desiree's child.
So your affair theory just went from a story to a fact.
30 years later, chemistry proves what a town spent 3 decades pretending didn't happen. And to me, that's motive with a signature on it. The father of a scandal pregnancy in a family built on name and money.
Hang on, Jake. Slow down. You're doing the thing.
What thing?
The father of the baby is not automatically the killer. You've proven he had the strongest reason to want the problem gone. You have not proven he's the one who made it gone. Those are two different men until the evidence says otherwise.
Fair, but you'll grant the paternity strengthens my column and does nothing for yours.
I'll grant it does nothing for Sadler. I won't grant it convicts Wendell. Because here's what's nagging me. You keep saying the family. The family calls Sadler. The family makes it disappear. The family protects the name.
Right.
You keep saying the family like it's Wendell, but a family that runs a whole county isn't one married son panicking on a fairground road. Who in that family actually controls the money, the name, the trust you keep talking about?
That would be his mother, the matriarch, Eulalie May Bellamy.
And what do we know about her from 1994?
Almost nothing. She was, let me find it, well-regarded, active in the church, above suspicion. Investigators never gave her a second look.
Above suspicion, huh? Say that phrase slower next time, Jake, because in my line of work, that's not a character reference, that's a hiding place.
You think an elderly society matriarch walks a pregnant woman out to a quarry at midnight?
I think I want to know where she was that night, and I've got a feeling nobody in 1994 ever bothered to ask.
Actually, let me check the file on that. Okay, here it is. Eulalie Bellamy, statement given to a deputy, not Sadler, a different deputy, weeks later, almost a formality. She says she was at a church social that evening.
A church social. And it checked out?
That's the thing. There's no confirmation attached, no sign-in sheet, no corroborating name, nothing. There's about a 2-hour window in her account that just floats. Nobody ever went back and nailed it down.
2 hours. Unverified. Jake, that's the exact same shape as Sadler's patrol gap.
It is, but nobody flagged hers because
Because you don't flag the church lady, you flag the drifter's boyfriend and the deputy with the shady land deal. She's scenery.
she's scenery. And I'll be honest with you, right now, that's a coincidence, not a case. 2 hours unaccounted for in 1994 describes half the county. I'm not moving off Wendell on a floating church social.
Fair. Keep it in the drawer, though. Don't close the drawer.
Drawer's open. But let me show you why. For most of this reopened investigation, neither of our guys was the prime suspect. Because when the cold case unit picked this up in 23, they went straight at Sadler, and not the way you're going at him. They thought he did it.
So the official theory landed exactly where I did.
Exactly where you did, Christy. And they had more than instinct. Because the first thing that surfaced when they reopened it, before the genealogy even, was Sadler's reputation. He died in 2011. Single vehicle accident, ran off a ridge road at night.
Single vehicle, any weather.
Clear night. Which the armchair crowd loved, obviously. But the investigators kept it grounded. Rural deputy, late shift, a few drinks and a man carrying 30 years of something. A ridge road at night doesn't need a conspiracy to kill you.
No, it doesn't. Those roads kill sober people in daylight.
Right. So no foul play there. But when they started pulling his history, the picture of Sadler got ugly fast. This is a man who, over his career, had a documented pattern of making things go away for people who mattered in that county.
Define go away.
A Bellamy Cousins wreck that never got a citation. A zoning complaint against the lumber operation that vanished from the docket. Little things. A deputy who understood that in Harlow's Bend, the Bellamys were the economy, and the economy takes care of the people who take care of it.
So he's a fixer. And this is what I keep saying. A fixer who suddenly can't let go of one particular photograph is not behaving like a fixer anymore.
And that's the piece that turned the cold case unit into believers in the Sadler did it theory. Because in 25, they found the notebook.
The leather notebook in the attic.
His widow's attic. She's clearing the house, and there's this old leather field notebook of his, and tucked in the binding is Desiree's intake photograph, the one that never made it into the system. And underneath it, 3 words.
Handled, not for file.
Handled, not for file.
Okay, sit in that phrase with me for a second because it's doing a lot. Handled, not solved, not closed. Handled, like a task, like a thing you take care of and then note that you took care of it.
And not for file, meaning Keep this out of the record on purpose, and here's my private note that I did.
For the cold case unit, that reads like a confession, right? I handle her.
That's exactly how they read it. For months, handled her, kept her face, wrote himself a little memo. To them, that's a killer who couldn't quite throw the trophy away and couldn't quite stop confessing to himself either.
And I'll say it plainly, that's my read too. That's the read I walked in here with. Handled, not for file, plus a photo against his chest for 17 years is a haunted man.
So for a stretch, the whole reopened case is pointed at a dead deputy. And here's what that cost, Christy, because this matters. They spent months building the Sadler as killer theory, interviewing his surviving colleagues, trying to reconstruct that 2-hour patrol gap 30 years cold.
Months chasing the wrong man.
Months. And the whole time, the answer to who was he handling this for was sitting right there in the phrase. And nobody wanted to read it that way, because reading it that way meant looking at the family everybody in that county still had to live next to. There's one more thing that came out of the widow's boxes: a personal recorder. Sadler apparently talked to himself, dictated notes, kept little audio memos. Most of it's mundane, but there's one fragment the cold case unit flagged, and I want you to just hear it.
Play it.
This is Sadler's own voice. Undated, low tape hiss underneath the whole thing.
The Bellamy situation is handled. Nobody's asking. Let it lie.
The Bellamy situation.
The Bellamy situation is handled. Nobody's asking. Let it lie.
Jake, he calls it the Bellamy situation, not the Vantry situation, not the girl. The Bellamy situation.
And now, watch what that does to both our theories at once, because this is where I actually get uncomfortable.
Go ahead.
If Sadler killed her, your theory, why does he file it in his own head under Bellamy? It's his crime. It's his situation. You don't name your own murder after another family.
Unless he's protecting himself by mentally offloading it. But no, you're right. That's a stretch. The Bellamy situation is a man describing something he did for the Bellamys, not something he did himself.
Which is my theory. Wendell kills her. The family calls Sadler. Sadler files it under Bellamy because that's whose problem it was.
Okay, but hold on. That hands it right back to your problem, Jake. The Bellamy situation doesn't say Wendell either. It says Bellamy, the whole family. You've been assuming the Bellamy in that sentence is the son. It could just as easily be
the name, the institution, the trust.
the person who is the Bellamy situation.
You keep steering me toward the mother.
I keep steering you toward whoever that money answers to, and you keep telling me that's not Wendell, it's you, Laylee. I'm just repeating your own org chart back to you.
All right, let me pull us back to hard evidence before we spiral, because we've got 2 more concrete things to walk through, and both of them landed in the last year. First, and this is the one that started everything, I want to actually explain how the identification worked, because it's the spine of the whole case.
Yes, this is my conference brain lighting up. Walk it.
So, genetic genealogy. The Doe's profile had been sitting useless for decades because the old databases only matched you against known offenders. If your killer's not in the system, and you're not in the system, you're both invisible forever.
Right. The old way, you needed a suspect to already be in a criminal database. This flips it.
This flips it entirely. The cold case unit uploads Desiree's profile to the kind of database ordinary people use to find cousins. And you're not looking for her. You're looking for anybody who shares enough DNA to be a relative.
And here's the beautiful, eerie part. You don't need her to have ever spit in a tube. You need her second cousin's curiosity. You need one stranger who wanted to know if they were Scots-Irish.
That's exactly what happened. A distant cousin 4 states away takes a consumer test for the most banal reason imaginable, and the software says, you share centimorgans with an unidentified murder victim in Kentucky.
And from that one match, the genealogists build backward and downward. They're basically doing what I do with a family system, except with chromosomes instead of trauma.
They build the tree branch by branch until it collapses down to one person who fits right age, right sex, went missing at the right time from a family that traveled.
The Vantreases.
And that's when a name goes on the file. Here's the local coverage. The day it broke, November 24.
After 3 decades, remains found in the old Harlow's Bend quarry have a name tonight. 22-year-old Desiree Vantrease, a traveling carnival worker who vanished from the county fair in 1994. Investigators say the identification made through genetic genealogy has now reopened her death as a homicide.
Reopened as a homicide, which it always was. It was a homicide in 94. It's just that nobody with power called it one.
And the second the name is public, the phone starts ringing. Because a name does something a Jane Doe never can. It gives people permission to remember.
Oh, that's the part people underestimate. A nameless skeleton, nobody's memory has a hook to hang on. But say the fortune teller girl from the 94 fair out loud in a small county.
And suddenly 3 different people remember 3 different things they've been sitting on for 30 years.
Because they didn't know they were witnesses. You can't come forward about a murder you didn't know happened.
And one of the things that surfaces is a ring. Now, this is a thread from 94 that nobody could ever tie down because they didn't have her name. Weeks after Desiree disappeared, a garnet ring gets pawned at a county line pawn shop. Logged, photographed the way pawn shops do.
Deep red stone, worn band. Go on.
It sat in a pawn log for 30 years, meaning nothing. But there's a surviving snapshot of Desiree at her fairground booth, and she's wearing a ring. And when they compare the pawn shop photograph to the snapshot,
Same ring?
same garnet, same setting, matched by photograph.
So her property gets pawned county line weeks after she's killed. That's not a robbery gone wrong, Jake. A robbery killer pawns the ring the next town over that night, not weeks later, careful, at the county line.
Say what you're seeing.
Whoever pawned that ring waited. They sat on it until the noise died down, then quietly turned it into cash somewhere just far enough away. That's the same cold, patient hand I keep seeing on everything downstream of the murder. The disposal, the erased file, the ring. It's all somebody being careful over a long horizon.
Does that fit Wendell or Sadler better in your head?
Honestly, right now it fits a mindset more than a man. It fits somebody who thinks in terms of managing a problem over months, not surviving a bad night. And I keep bumping into the fact that neither of our guys quite has that texture. Wendell's a panicker in your own story. Sadler's a fixer, but the emotion in that notebook is messy.
So who's got the long, cold horizon?
Somebody whose entire life is the long horizon. Somebody who thinks in trusts and family names and generations. You don't protect a fortune in a panic. You protect it like it's your job.
You're doing it again.
I know I am.
Okay, then let me put the thing on the table that changes the temperature of this whole conversation. Because when the case reopened, investigators subpoenaed the Bellamy family financial records, the trust, decades of it, and they went looking, initially, for something that would tie money to Wendell, a payoff, a hush account, something.
Your theory, family money cleans up the son's mess.
My theory. And they found a withdrawal, $5,000, cash, out of the Bellamy family trust.
$5,000 in 1994 is real money. When?
The morning of August 13th, the morning after the fair closed, the morning Desiree didn't show for teardown.
The morning after. Okay, that's a hush payment or a cleanup payment. That timing is not a coincidence.
No documented purpose, no invoice, no note, no explanation. $5,000 in cash, pulled the morning after, and then 30 years of silence over the line item.
And who signed for it? Please tell me the withdrawal has a name on it.
It does. And this is where I sat up in my chair, Christy, because I wanted it to say Wendell so badly.
It doesn't say Wendell.
It doesn't say Wendell. The withdrawal was made by Eulalie Mae Bellamy.
The mother pulled the money.
The morning after, herself, in her own hand.
Jake, that's not the family cleaning up Wendell's mess. That's the matriarch moving cash the morning after the girl disappears. That's her hand on the money.
And I want to be careful, because a withdrawal is not a murder. She could be paying Sadler to bury a scandal her son caused. That's still consistent with my Wendell theory. Mom pays the fixer to protect her boy.
It could be. A day ago, I'd have taken that. But then look at what the withdrawal does to the sequence. She's not reacting to a scandal that simmered for weeks. She moves the money the very next morning. She already knew that morning that there was a body-shaped problem to pay down.
Meaning she knew before almost anyone that Desiree wasn't just missing.
Meaning she knew there was something to handle before the county even knew there was something to look for.
Handle. There's that word again.
There's that word again. The Bellamy situation is handled. Whose money handled it? Hers.
And then 25, the last piece walks in the door. Or is carried in, really. Because the witness who finally puts it together is dying when she gives the statement.
A deathbed statement.
An elderly woman. In 1994, she'd worked the fair as a ticket taker. Booth right near the front gate, the road out. She's in hospice in 25. She sees the news that they named the fortune teller girl, and she asks her daughter to call the sheriff's office.
Because she'd been carrying something for 30 years and didn't know it counted.
Didn't know it counted. Here's the core of what she told them.
I remember the cream-colored car, the Bellamy woman's sedan. It was sitting on the Quarry Road near midnight, and I thought it was odd, because what would she be doing all the way out there that late? I never said anything. Who was I going to tell? It was her.
It was her, even dying. That's the reflex. You don't tell on a Bellamy.
Who was I going to tell? It was her. That's 30 years of that county in one sentence.
And it's specific, Jake. She doesn't say a car. She says the cream-colored sedan, the Bellamy woman's near midnight on the Quarry Road. That's not a vague memory. That's the kind of detail that snags in you because it didn't fit. A society matriarch's car parked out at a played-out quarry at midnight.
And near midnight is Desiree's window. She closes the booth at 11:40. The quarry's 2 miles off.
So now we have Eulalie's own car, placed by a witness, on the road to the exact spot where the body ends up, in the exact hour the girl disappears, and her hand on $5,000 the next morning.
And I have to say it out loud because it's the honest thing to do on this show.
Say it.
I've spent this whole episode telling you the father did it. Wendell, motive with a signature on it, I said. And the father's DNA is real, the affair is real, the motive is real. But the father didn't pull the money, and the father's car wasn't on that road. Hers was. I was wrong about the man. I think I was right about the reason and wrong about the hand.
And I have to stand right up here next to you because I've been beating the Sadler drum since minute one. His photo, his notebook, his gap, and every bit of that is real too, but it's the behavior of a man who buried a murder, not a man who committed one. The Bellamy situation is handled. He was handling it. For her.
We both built a case around a man.
We both built a case around a man. And the money and the car belonged to a woman we spent the first half of this episode calling scenery.
The 2 hours at the church social.
The floating 2 hours you told me to keep in the drawer.
I told you to keep it in the drawer. You told me not to close the drawer.
Nobody in 1994 ever pulled it back out. And now I want to know exactly how a 70-something matriarch gets a 22-year-old pregnant woman to a quarry at midnight, because that's the piece that turns a suspicious car and a withdrawal into a murder.
And the answer to that, Christy, is the ugliest, most human part of this whole thing. And it's sitting in what Desiree was actually good at.
Reading people.
Reading people. Let me walk you through how the last night actually goes. Start with the payoff meeting, because that's what it is. Eulalie doesn't drive out to a quarry to hurt anyone. She drives out to buy a problem off, $5,000 in cash, pulled the next morning, but the offer came the night before.
So the money on the 13th is the replacement. She spent the first envelope at the quarry and had to refill it.
That's my read. Here's how the night goes. Desiree closes the booth at 11:40, and I don't think she was walking to the trailers at all. I think she had a meeting.
With the mother of the man whose baby she's carrying.
Think about it from Eulalie's side. She's known for weeks. Wendell's careless, or somebody talked, and the matriarch finds out there's a pregnant carnival woman telling people she's settling down. To Eulalie, that's not a scandal. That's a claim.
A paternity claim against the trust. An outside child with a legal thread to Bellamy money.
Which is the one thing she spent her whole life guarding. So she does what her kind of power always does first. She tries to buy it clean. Meet me somewhere quiet, no fairground eyes, the old Quarry Road.
And Desiree goes, which everyone will find insane, why would she meet the matriarch alone at midnight?
Why does she go, Christy? Because you told me who she was in the first 10 minutes.
Because she reads people. And she reads this exactly right. She spent her whole life across a folding table from strangers reading what they actually want versus what they say. An old woman with money sends for her privately at midnight. Desiree knows precisely what that is. That's not danger to her, that's a negotiation.
That's the tragedy in the skill. The thing that made her good is the thing that walked her out there.
She thinks she's holding the strong hand, she's carrying a Bellamy grandchild, and she knows it. She's not scared of Eulalie, she thinks Eulalie needs her.
And she's not wrong. That's the awful part. She read the leverage correctly. She just misjudged how far the other woman would go to erase it.
So Eulalie offers the money. Take it, leave the state, never say the name Bellamy again.
And Desiree says no.
Why no? $5,000 in 1994, a woman with a jar of getting out money under her bunk. That's the dream. Why turn it down?
Because it's a payoff to disappear, not support for a child. I think she wanted the baby acknowledged, not hush money, a future. She wanted the thing she'd told her sister she was building. A real address, a name for the kid.
She wanted in, and Eulalie was offering her out. Those don't meet in the middle.
And that's the moment. Desiree turns to walk away from a deal she won't take.
The back of the skull.
The back of the skull. She turns her back on a 70-something church social matriarch because there is nothing in her world that says that woman is a physical threat. And Eulalie
picks up whatever's at hand. A rock, a tool from the trunk. She doesn't need strength for one blow to the back of the head of a woman who's already turned away.
That's the whole reason nobody looked at her, Christy. Everybody assumed you need a strong man to do this. You don't. You need one swing at someone who trusts you enough to turn around.
And that's the profile flip I should have made earlier and didn't. Physical capacity was never the bar. Proximity and trust were the bar. And the person with the most trust and the least suspicion in that entire county was the old woman in the front pew.
So here's the twist. This whole county missed for 30 years. It was never the panicking son. It was never the guilty deputy. It was the one person nobody could picture doing it, and that impossibility is exactly what she used.
The unimaginability was the weapon. Being unsuspected is a form of power, and she'd had it her whole life.
And then the cold horizon you kept circling, the ring pawned, weeks later, county line, careful, the file erased, the money refilled the next morning, all of it is her.
The ring. Jake, the ring is her too, isn't it? She takes it off the body.
Best read is she takes it that night. Maybe to make it look like a robbery, maybe just because a loose valuable is a loose end. And weeks later, when the noise dies, it quietly gets turned into cash at the county line.
That's not a killer covering a bad night. That's an estate being managed. She handled the body, the file, the ring, and the money like 4-line items.
Handled. Sadler's word. Her hand.
And now Sadler makes complete sense, and it's so much sadder than my theory. He didn't kill her. She calls him that night or the next morning, the family fixer, and she says, handle it.
He processes the intake himself so nobody else touches it. He leaves off the gold crown because that's the detail that names her. He circulates the sketch regionally, never nationally, so it dies quiet.
And he keeps the photograph, which I read as a killer's trophy. I was wrong about what that photo meant.
Say it, because you've earned the right to.
I've been wrong since minute one. I built Sadler as the killer on his behavior, the photo against his chest, the notebook, the gap, and the behavior was real. I read the man right. I just had the crime wrong. That photo wasn't a trophy, it was a conscience. He carried her face for 17 years because he knew exactly whose murder he'd erased and he couldn't put her down.
Handled, not for file, isn't a confession. It's a receipt.
It's a receipt. A man telling himself the job is done and the record is clean and the Bellamy situation is handled, nobody's asking, let it lie. That's not guilt over killing her, that's a man reassuring himself the cover held.
For a bribe, that land deal he depended on.
He sold a dead woman's name for a piece of a subdivision? That's grotesque. But it's not murder, and I spent 30 minutes of this episode certain it was.
And I've got to do mine too, because fair's fair. I told you the father did it. Motive with a signature, I called it. And I want to be precise about what I got right and what I got wrong, because they're not the same thing.
Go.
I was right that this murder is about the pregnancy. It's about the baby, the trust, the name, the paternity is the engine of the whole thing. But I put the crime on the man who caused the scandal instead of the woman who owned the consequences. Wendell made the problem. Eulalie solved it. I confused the two.
Wendell's the reason. Eulalie's the hand.
Wendell's the reason. Eulalie's the hand. And here's the thing that's going to bother me for a while. Christy, we did the exact thing 1994 did.
What do you mean?
We argued for 40 minutes about two men. We had a whole board of male suspects, the lover, the boyfriend, the boss, the deputy, and the woman who did it. We called scenery. We stopped looking at her the same day everyone else did because we all made the same assumption.
Oh, that lands hard because you flagged it yourself and moved on. You read me her file. Well-regarded, active in the church, above suspicion, and we both slid right past it.
I even read the phrase out loud.
And I told you above suspicion isn't a character reference, it's a hiding place, and then I spent the next half hour hiding her from myself too, banging on about Sadler. The blind spot got both of us. That's how good the blind spot was.
So let's land where the case actually is right now, January 26. Rutherford County has charged Eulalie Mae Bellamy with the homicide of Desiree Vantrease.
And how old is she now?
She's in her late 90s, which is its own gut punch. She had almost the entire rest of her life after that night. 30-plus years of church socials and civic committees and being the most respected woman in the county and the whole time.
There was a 22-year-old in the quarry with no name. She got old and celebrated. Desiree got a file number.
And here's why I called this a controversial ending at the top. The case they've charged is strong, but it's circumstantial. And the woman they've charged may not live to see a verdict.
Walk me through the strength, honestly. Profiler hat off, evidence hat on.
The fetal DNA proves the affair and the motive, an outside child with a claim to the trust. The trust ledger proves she personally pulled $5,000 in cash the morning after. The deathbed witness places her car on the Quarry access road near midnight in the victim's window.
And Sadler's notebook and recorder tie the cover-up to the Bellamy name in his own words.
And the pawned ring ties the victim's property to the same patient, careful timeline everything else runs on.
But there's no confession, no murder weapon, no eyewitness to the blow itself.
None. Everybody who could put a hand directly on the act is either dead or nearly. Sadler died in 2011. The witness died shortly after her statement. It's a mosaic, not a photograph.
And a good defense attorney stands up and says every single piece of that is explainable on its own. The withdrawal? A private woman handles cash. The car? A witness's 30-year-old memory of a common color of sedan. The cover-up? That's Sadler's crime, not hers, and he's conveniently dead.
That's exactly the defense. Each thread alone phrase. The prosecution's whole case is that you can't explain all of them at once, on that night, pointing at that road, without her.
The coincidence stack, which juries find compelling and appellate courts find nervous-making.
And whatever happens in that courtroom, if there even is a full trial, at her age, the deeper verdict already came in. Desiree Vantrease has her name back. She's not File 89.
And that only happened because a stranger 4 states away wanted to know if they were Scots-Irish.
The entire thing turns on one act of idle curiosity by a person who never met her. No confession cracked this, no deathbed guilt from the killer. A cousin's spit in a tube.
And I keep thinking about what that means for every other File 89 out there. The old system needed the killer to already be a known offender. This one needed nobody to be guilty of anything, just related.
Which is why the deputy's whole strategy failed in the end. Sadler built his cover for a 1994 world, keep her out of the national database, erase the crown, kill the sketch, and it worked perfectly for as long as identification depended on somebody recognizing her.
He erased every way a person could name her. He couldn't erase her chromosomes. He didn't know that was coming. Nobody did.
He suppressed a photograph. He couldn't suppress a second cousin.
That's the thing that genuinely moves me here. Ulally and Sadler engineered a silence that was perfect for its time, and time is exactly what broke it. Every year that passed put more of her relatives into those databases, not fewer.
The cover-up had an expiration date built into it, and they couldn't have known. Her sister, the one she'd called about the pregnancy, was still alive when they made the identification.
Oh, God. 30 years of not knowing.
30 years of assuming Desiree had just moved on, cut ties. Because that happens on the circuit. People drift. She spent 3 decades a little bit hurt that her sister never called again.
When the truth was, she never got the chance.
Here's a piece of what she told a reporter after the identification.
I was angry at her for years for going quiet on me, and the whole time she was in that water. I'd give anything to take back being angry. At least now she comes home with her name.
At least she comes home with her name. That's the whole case in 9 words.
And a headstone now, in a real cemetery. A fixed address, finally, which is grim, because it's exactly what she was working toward.
The thing she saved her tips for. She wanted an address with her name on it. She got one, just not the one she was building. Can I name the pattern I'm walking out of here with? Because it reframed something for me.
Please.
We profile violence as a physical act, so we profile toward physical people. Young, strong, male, angry. And this case is a clean lesson that the most dangerous quality in a killer isn't strength. It's being the last person anyone will suspect. Eulalie killed with 1 swing and a checkbook. The checkbook did more damage than the swing.
The money bought 30 years of silence. The muscle never could.
And the person best positioned to buy that silence was the person society had already decided was incapable of needing to. That's not a Kentucky problem. That's everywhere.
Desiree read one situation exactly right, and it still killed her because she couldn't imagine the other woman would rather bury her than share a name.
She was the best reader of people at that fair, and the one person who fooled her wasn't lying about who she was. Eulalie really was the respectable church matriarch. That was true, it just wasn't all of it.
Here's how the county heard it. January 26th.
Prosecutors today charged 97-year-old Eulalie Mae Bellamy, a name synonymous with Rutherford County for generations, in the 1994 killing of Desiree Vantrease. The district attorney called it, quote, the oldest homicide charge in county history, and the one this community least expected.
The one this community least expected, which is the entire reason it stayed hidden.
The unexpectedness was the hiding place. Same sentence, 30 years apart.
And that's where I have to leave it because a jury hasn't spoken and she's entitled to that. The case is charged. It is not closed.
Charged, not closed. Handled. But this time, for the file.
A woman who read strangers for a living, undone by the one person the whole county refused to read.
Desiree Vantrease has her name, and Rutherford County finally has to look at who took it. That's the cold file for this week, Christy. Take us out.
Here's the pattern I can't stop turning over lately, and it's shifting how I read these files. Across case after case, the offender we chase hardest is almost never the one wearing the disguise that actually works. Next week, we open something that pushes right on that nerve, and I'd love you in the room for it. So follow the show and stay close. We'll get into it then.